Important explanation. Yugoslavia was a federation of 6 republics. One of the 6 was Serbia, so Serbia and Yugoslavia are synonyms. Each of the 6 republics had its own president, and then there was president of whole Yugoslavia. During the wars in Slovenia, Croatia and Bosnia, Milošević was president of Serbia. Milošević became president of rump Yugoslavia only in 1997. Slobodan Milošević was born in 1941 in Požarevac, Serbia. His name Slobodan means free in Serbian. Many children born during World War II were given names Slobodan and Slobodanka. His supporters often called him by the nickname Sloba. His opponents replaced letter S with Z and called him Zloba, which means malice in Serbian. His family was actually from Montenegro. His father Svetozar was a theologian who gave up religion. His mother Stanislava was a schoolteacher and member of Communist Party. His maternal uncle Milisav Koljenšić was Major General in Tito's Yugoslav army. All 3, father, mother and maternal uncle, took their own lives. This fact is used as evidence for the theory that Milošević also took his own life. Milošević supporters liked that he was born in Serbia. Huge number of politicians in Serbia were actually born in other republics. Milošević's opponents saw him as Montenegrin. The narrative was that Montenegrins are controlling Serbia. Milošević's brother Borislav worked as a personal translator to Tito during confidential meetings with Brezhnev. Borislav became diplomat and served as Yugoslav ambassador to Algeria, Japan and Russia. In 1959, Milošević joined Communist Party as he was 18 years old. Later, Milošević graduated from Belgrade University's Faculty of Law. During his time at the university, Milošević was active in communist organizations. He befriended Ivan Stambolić, whose uncle Petar Stambolić was prime minister. This friendship marked Milošević's early years in the politics. Milošević worked for state-owned companies. In 1978, he became the head of Beobanka, one of the largest banks in Yugoslavia. Thanks to this job, he often traveled to Paris and New York. In 1984, Milošević became leader of Belgrade City Communists. In 1986, he became leader of communists in whole Serbia. The year 1986 was when most people in Serbia heard of Milošević. In 1986, SANU memorandum was leaked to the press. SANU stands for Serbian Academy for Sciences and Arts. The memorandum was labeled as nationalistic by Communist Party. All important communists, including Milošević, condemned the memorandum. Some said that Milošević only pretended to condemn the memorandum. Some even said he adopted the memorandum as his program. What was so shocking about the memorandum? Simply speaking, Serb academics declared that Serbs were used and abused in Yugoslavia. This was very popular opinion among Serbs. If Milošević wanted to win the elections in Serbia, he had to embrace the idea that Serbs were used and abused in Yugoslavia. In 1987, there were problems between Albanians and Serbs in Serbian province Kosovo. Albanians made a huge majority of population in Kosovo. Milošević's opponents say that he wasn't an original thinker, and that he adopted Aleksandar Ranković's ideas about Kosovo. Ranković was a close associate of Tito. Many believed that Ranković would be the next leader after Tito dies. However, in 1966, Ranković lost his position but wasn't killed. Ranković died in 1983 and wasn't granted state funeral. Nevertheless, it is estimated that 100,000 people showed at his funeral. Milošević was one of them. One theory says that Milošević saw how much Serbs liked Ranković and decided to follow his politics. Ranković was for centralization, while most non-Serbs were for decentralization. Critics accuse Ranković of giving dominance to Serbs in Kosovo, that Serbs were overrepresented in local institutions. To cut a long story short, Albanians really didn't like Ranković. Milošević wanted to reduce the autonomy given to Kosovo. Next step in Milošević's rise would be removing Ivan Stambolić. Communist officials in Belgrade accused Stambolić of abusing power. In February 1988, Stambolić was forced to resign as president of Serbia. Critics believe that Milošević was behind this scheme. From July 1988, there were protests on the streets, and they were called anti-bureaucratic revolution. There is huge debate if these protests were organized by Milošević, or they were organized by other people to support Milošević. As a result of these protests, provincial government in Vojvodina and Republican government in Montenegro resigned. Non-Serbs saw this as Milošević's coup d'etat. On federal level, the 6 republics and 2 autonomous provinces had each 1 vote. After the anti-bureaucratic revolution, Milošević controlled 4 out of 8 votes. Slovenes and Croats were especially upset by this. They believed that Milošević gained too much power. Slovene newspapers compared Milošević to Mussolini. Calling Milošević fascist is just generic insult. He was described as left-wing nationalist. Left-wing nationalism is based upon national self-determination, popular sovereignty, and left-wing political positions. Tito's regime can be described as left-wing nationalists, but pro-Yugoslav. Tito's government promoted the concept of brotherhood and unity. One of the main debates is whether Milošević rejected brotherhood and unity. Milošević's defenders say he always wanted to preserve Yugoslavia. Milošević was seen as face of communist Serbia, partisan Serbia, Tito's Serbia. Milošević was presented to his voters as second Tito. There were stories about connection between Milošević and Tito. Tito was romantically involved with Davorjanka, who was related to Milošević's wife. Some speculate that Tito would have married Davorjanka, but she died from tuberculosis. Milošević's opponents sometimes referred to Tito as Milošević's uncle by marriage, Serbian teča. Milošević's wife Mira Marković was his high school sweetheart. They had 2 children together. Mira got PhD in sociology and worked as university professor. She also wrote books and published weekly column in a magazine. Later she founded her own party, Yugoslav United Left. Mira was hardline communist, atheist. She was nicknamed the Red Witch and Lady Macbeth. Milošević's fans often blame Mira for Milošević's mistakes. Just like Macbeth, he is a naive and good-natured man whose wife is crazy and bloodthirsty. Mira came from elite communist family. Mira's uncle Draža Marković was president of Serbia 1974-1978. In 1989, Milošević became president of Serbia. The same year, Serbs were marking 600 years since the Kosovo battle. Kosovo battle is extremely important for Serb identity. Foreigners wrongly assumed that the 1989 celebrations were Milošević's invention. In 1889, Serbs celebrated 500 years since the battle. The celebrations included coronation of King Aleksandar Obrenović. Whoever was Serb leader in 1989 had to mark the anniversary of the battle. Milošević gave a speech in front of 1 million people. They made 10% of whole Serbia. Non-Serbs were frightened by this sight. In 1989, an amended Serbian constitution was submitted for approval. It needed votes from Vojvodina, Kosovo, and Serbia assemblies. Albanians made 70% of Kosovo assembly. Albanians had power to block the amendments. Instead, they voted for the amendments. Later, Albanians claimed they were forced to vote in favor. Since 1989, Albanians largely boycotted the provincial government. They refused to vote in the elections. Slovenes and Croats often claimed that these amendments were in violation of the 1974 Yugoslav constitution. They claimed that Milošević destroyed Yugoslavia in 1989. Slovenes accused Serbia of pursuing Stalinism. Milošević supporters say that non-Serbs needed something to justify their separatism. Yugoslavia went through financial crisis in the 1980s. Then communism fell. Milošević established Socialist Party of Serbia, SPS for short. The party still exists and they win 8 to 10% of votes in the elections. Non-Serbs wanted reforms and Milošević was against it. Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Macedonia all declared independence 1991-1992. In 1992, Serbia and Montenegro formed Third Yugoslavia or Rump Yugoslavia. The 10-day war in Slovenia was between Slovenian separatists and Yugoslav army. Some claim that Milošević's plan was to force Slovenia and Croatia to leave Yugoslavia. Personally, I don't think anyone can be forced to declare independence if they don't want it. Yugoslav republics had no ethnic borders, and a significant number of Serbs lived outside Serbia. Serbs living in Croatia and Bosnia wanted to remain in Yugoslavia. Serbs in Croatia and Bosnia had their own leaders. Prosecution tried to prove that these leaders were subordinate to Milošević. Many Serbs believe that Milošević only gave weapons and money to Serbs in Croatia and Bosnia, and that he didn't give direct orders. Serbs see Yugoslav wars as civil wars. Non-Serbs see them as invasions. Critics say that Serbs today dislike Milošević not because he went to wars, but because he lost them. The war in Kosovo is different from the rest of Yugoslav wars. There is no doubt Milošević was commander of Yugoslav forces in 1999. Albanians formed KLA, Kosovo Liberation Army. I would compare KLA to IRA and Northern Ireland and Kosovo situations. In this analogy, UK would be Yugoslavia and England would be Serbia. Yugoslavia had right to intervene against KLA, but Yugoslavia should have protected Albanian civilians. NATO bombed Rump Yugoslavia in 1999 without UN approval. Most Serbs see bombing as not justified. Milošević's opposition was fragmented. Coalitions were often formed and dissolved. Two most important anti-Milošević coalitions were Zajedno and later DOS. Zajedno, English together, existed 1996-1997. They organized huge anti-Milošević protests for the election fraud. This was seen as Milošević's first defeat in Serbia. DOS stands for Demokratska opozicija Srbije, English Democratic Opposition of Serbia. They managed to defeat and remove Milošević from power in October 2000. Serbia suffered a lot under Milošević. We had international sanctions that caused shortages of many goods. We had fourth worst hyperinflation in human history. Many left Serbia and some died in the wars. Serbia also accepted hundreds of thousands of war refugees, mostly ethnic Serbs. Milošević's regime was notorious for nepotism and cronyism. He was suspected of political assassinations, electoral fraud, police brutality, corruption, suppression of free speech. Ivan Stambolić was kidnapped and murdered in 2000. He was supposed to be opposition's candidate for the president of Yugoslavia. Despite this murder, Milošević lost the elections in September 2000. He refused to accept the defeat. Opposition organized huge protests that resulted in 5th October Revolution. Milošević was forced to step down. The Hague Tribunal demanded Milošević extradition. He was extradited on 28 June, Vidovdan. Vidovdan is the day of Kosovo battle. The new regime couldn't have picked the worst date, because now Milošević joins the 3089 Kosovo martyrs in the eyes of his supporters. On 11th March 2006, Milošević was found dead in his cell in The Hague. He died before his trial ended, so we'll never know what the verdict would have been. The official cause of death is heart attack. There are several conspiracy theories involving his death. His supporters claim that the Hague Tribunal either killed Milošević or let him die without proper medical care. His critics claim that Milošević took wrong medications to cause heart attack. He either did this to end his life or to be released from detention on medical basis. Some even say that Milošević's death was faked by the Hague Tribunal. That Milošević secretly moved to Russia, where he later died. Milošević was denied state funeral. What do I think? I have no problem with Milošević standing trial. Leaders should be held accountable for what they did. I have a problem with how the trial was handled. International justice system was supposed to give us closure and answers. Instead, we got more questions, conspiracy theories, and speculations. Verdicts in different trials are contradicting. Milošević's image ranges from butcher of the Balkans to peacekeeper.